In this video, I'm going to show you how to find the perfect loudness level for your EDM or bass music song. When we start talking about loudness, you'll find really outspoken and opinionated people on both sides of that argument. Some of them would have you believe that you need to have massive dynamic range, lots of crest factor in order for your music to sound good. And as soon as you start eating into that with limiting or anything else that causes gain reduction, that your song sounds rubbish. And then on the other side of that argument, you have people, a lot of them in the electronic music genre, that are pushing loudness into mega levels, -2, -1 LUFS, even positive numbers sometimes. And they say that the music sounds better that way. I titled this video the way that I did because electronic music is its own thing. And some, maybe even many, of the rules around music production and specific engineering techniques just don't apply to electronic music. It's its own niche, and in many cases has its own engineering principles that work for it that don't work for other genres. One of the main things I want you to understand is that there is a sweet spot. When you dial it in, this perfect level of loudness, when you find it, your song will sound the biggest, the fullest, the widest, the weightiest, the most aggressive certainly, and the most energetic, regardless of the SPL playback level that it's at. When you dial in that sweet spot, your song kind of hits this magical level of density and gel and cohesion, these things that make electronic music so appealing and sound so good to the people that love it. So we're gonna find that sweet spot in this video. Let's get to it. I'm gonna take you inside a drum and bass project where I've been doing the stem mix and master. I've been testing out this new plugin, Fuel by Music Hat. It's a loudness tool, basically. It's pretty insane what they say it can do. And I used it on the stems and I used it on the master. We're not gonna take a look at the actual session. What I'm gonna show you is my process for evaluating how loud the song should go. So what I did is I mastered a whole bunch of different versions of the song. All the production, all the mix, everything was the same. The only thing I did is I gradually turned up the loudness on the master, and then I rendered everything out. So I rendered out all the way from -14 LUFS all the way up to -2.5 LUFS, and that was an integrated LUFS calculation in the drop. Then I normalized them all down to the exact same loudness level. So we can flip between them very quickly, and we can listen to what changes in the song at these different loudness levels, because I can guarantee you, and you're gonna see this clear as day, you're gonna be able to hear it, a lot of other things in the song change when you change the loudness level. These are other byproducts of heavy gain reduction and limiting. So let's go inside the project. I will just play each version for you, sections of the drop. Have a listen.
I can see my numbers going up on my Casio. Started from the bottom, but now I'm stacking dough. And I'm not gonna flip around like a gyro. People loving me in every single time zone. I'm a mix of being woke and a psycho go. 0 to 100 on nitro. I'm the best of the best, no typo. Homie, I can out-rap you on a blindfold. Legendary albino, call me whatever you want, get a down tone. One thing that I guarantee, ain't nobody going in like me. I'm a mix of a man and beast. The way I stomp on a random beat. I got the drip and I plant the seed. Put in work and expand my reach. I get my cool like anti-freeze. I flip around like a gyro. People loving me in every single time zone. I'm a mix of being woke and a psycho go. 0 to 100 on nitro. I'm the best of the best, no typo. Homie, I can out-rap you on a blindfold. Legendary albino, call me whatever you want, get a down tone. One thing that I guarantee, ain't nobody going in like me. I'm a mix of a man and beast. The way I stomp on a random beat. I got the drip and I plant the seed. Put in work and expand my reach. I get my cool like anti-freeze. I flip around like a gyro. People loving me in every single time zone. I'm a mix of being woke and a psycho go. 0 to 100 on nitro. I'm the best of the best, no typo. Homie, I can out-rap you on a blindfold. Legendary albino, call me whatever you want, get a down tone.
Now, I'm sure on the first listen, many of you have formed an opinion already. I'm gonna ask you to restrain yourselves from typing that in the comments yet because, and I do wanna hear from you 100%, but not yet, okay? I wanna teach you what I'm listening for, okay? It takes a while and the right listening environment, the right listening process to be able to start to hear what might feel like small details to you at the beginning, but eventually they will become glaringly obvious. Just like a sommelier with wine, you know, like when you're first drinking wine, people are like, what kind of wine did you have? You're like,
Red.
How was it?
Good.
You know, but a sommelier doesn't talk like that. They talk about tannins, they talk about how it was on the nose, they can tell you what growing region it came from, how much sun there was, how much water there was, if the roots of the plant had to reach through rock and sand to access water, if there was deer shit in the soil. But, you know, there's a level of discernment and a level of sensitivity that if we translate that to audio, it is ear training, the ability to detect smaller and smaller details that get amplified when you're on bigger and bigger systems and higher resolution listening environments. So I'm going to go through what I listen for, and especially the signs of garbage loudness, okay? And then we're going to have another listen with that in mind. The first thing that most people will notice is distortion. But distortion on what? I listen especially to distortion on things that used to sound clean on the less processed signal. Things like low sub-bass, vocals, pads, sustained instruments, pure tones. Also listen for distortion in the quieter parts of the mix, in the breakdowns and the buildups. If there's distortion on that, then there is certainly a larger amount of distortion in the drops, and maybe that's an indication that it's been overhyped. I also listen for distortion on the side channel, so I monitor the side channel specifically, and I listen to that because that's where a lot of the delicate reverbs and time-based spatial effects live. There's a type of distortion called intermodulation distortion, and it is generally caused by doing gain reduction or anything that generates harmonics on complex material. And it can create sum and difference partials. These are not regular harmonics that are in the harmonic series that sound musical. These can be above and, more interestingly, below the fundamental frequencies that are feeding into the limiter. So it's possible to have a 30 hertz 808 and then a 15 hertz intermodulation distortion partial that is taking up this headroom and making the bottom end of your mix sound muddy. But in general, intermodulation can lead to a general lack of clarity and definition in your mix. And it can add these kind of non-musical, nasty sounding sum and difference partials. The next thing I listen for is dull and flabby drums. As you push the drums up, they tend to lose the impact of the transient, right? Because you're pushing down on the peak level of the drums, and the drums are usually the loudest things in your mix. And then at the same time, because you're pushing gain up into a limiter, the drum bodies get louder and louder and louder in comparison to the transient. And that can make the drum bodies just sound overinflated and blown out. And again, it can lead to a loss of their general punch and impact, which usually doesn't sound good. Speaking of punch and impact, there's a general loss of punch and impact in the mix. That could be on transients that are not related to drums, right? So this could be synth plucks, it could be bass hits. I look for crest factor, and in general, actually, what I use even more is PSR, which is peak to short-term loudness ratio. And I take a look at that throughout the mix, and I try and figure out where the sweet spot is. Next up, you may experience a loss of width and depth in the mix. And this is related to my earlier point about distortion in the side channel. A lot of the limiter distortion will be applied to the side channel as well as the mid channel. And if it begins affecting your reverbs in that it's distorting, saturating your reverbs, that will make your song sound much less three-dimensional. You've probably worked really hard to get your mix to sound wide and spacious and deep by using reverbs, but anything you place harmonics on, anything you compress, anything you distort is going to make it sound forwards and in your face in the mix. And when that's affecting your reverbs, it can make your mix lose all of its dimension. Everything sounds forwards and you don't have that same sense of depth and space. So you've worked really hard on your depth staging. Try your best to preserve that by monitoring the side channel. Tonal balance changes, okay? There can be a lack of weight in the bass. And this is because bass usually takes up the most headroom in your mix. It's the first thing to slam into your limiter. And especially in electronic bass music and EDM, it has big bass, right? So as you push that into a limiter, the bass is the first thing that starts to suffer in louder masters. Also, you can get high frequency harshness. This is due to the harmonics the limiter is generating, including intermodulation distortion, as well as aliasing foldback. And a lot of electronic music kind of gets a bad rap for sounding harsh and digital for this exact reason. The bass can lose definition and focus. One of the things I like to do is listen to the master with a low-pass filter on, and I listen to the regular pulsation and groove that should be there in the low end. Is it actually moving? Is it creating a sense of rhythm in there? Can I hear some dynamics in the low end? Or is it just a fat sausage that sounds really samey and overinflated? Speaking of samey, super loud masters can sound thin, small, and weak when normalized down to the same loudness level as less loud masters. So you want to really watch out for that. So is the master sounding fatiguing and samey between sections? Especially listen to when the drops hit, because if it's pushed super, super loud, then there will be less energy difference between the buildups and the drops, right? When your drop hits, you actually want there to be an energy lift. But when it's over limited, then the drop will sound at the same loudness level or very similar. to the breakdowns and the buildups. Okay, so this is what I listen for. Let's go back and have another run through those exports.
I can see my numbers going up on my Casio. Started from the bottom, but now I'm stacking dough. And I'm not gonna flip around like a gyro. People loving me in every single time zone. I'm a mix of being woke and a psycho goes. 0 to 100 on nitro. I'm the best of the best, no typo. Homie, I can out-rap you on a blindfold. Legendary albino, call me whatever you want, get a down tone. One thing that I guarantee, ain't nobody going in like me. I'm a mix of a man and beast. The way I stomp on a random beat. I got the drip and I plant the seed. Put in work and expand my reach. I get my cool like antifreeze. I flip around like a gyro. People loving me in every single time zone. I'm a mix of being woke and a psycho goes. 0 to 100 on nitro. I'm the best of the best, no typo. Homie, I can out-rap you on a blindfold. Legendary albino, call me whatever you want, get a down tone. One thing that I guarantee, ain't nobody going in like me. I'm a mix of a man and beast. The way I stomp on a random beat. I got the drip and I plant the seed. Put in work and expand my reach.
Okay. So now I want to hear from you. Drop me in the comments. Let me know what you're hearing. This is what I'm hearing. Okay. Let's talk about the bottom of the range and the top of the range first. So the -14 LUFS, super dynamic version. It's also rubbish to me. It's really clean, but it is way too polite. When you listen to it, the drums are really on top. They're kind of like pokey. They're popping out on top of the mix. The bass isn't really giving you a lot of energy down there. The bass is just kind of restrained. It's got dynamic range, but it's just not gelled enough. The whole master is not gelled. And that's part of one of the benefits of what limiting and other things on your master do for you. That is part of the magic of electronic music. Not all genres sound good like this, but electronic music needs a sense of the elements being squished into each other to a certain degree, okay? Up to a point. But that sense of density and gel and cohesion with the elements brings them closer together and gives it this beautiful sound to it. The more dynamic versions, the -14, the -10, just don't have that. I start to hear that sense of gel and cohesion in around the -8 LUFS version. It gets better in the -6 LUFS version. And then that's enough to me. It's doing enough. And then once you push beyond that, it's like, okay, now things are getting crazier and some other stuff starts to happen. Now let's talk about the other end of the range. Hopefully you all can hear that the -2.5 LUFS, the -3 LUFS versions are just hot garbage, okay? And if you can't hear that, if you're not catching that, if that doesn't sound horrible to you, I think to me it's an indication that you maybe just don't have the ear training yet. Subjectively, different people have different preferences for distortion, and that especially with new genres like funk, there's been an increased amount of listener preference for distortion. To me, it sounds horrible. It sounds like unlistenable. And again, this is just for this production. Every song, every production has its own unique level. I'm just showing you how I found it for this one, and it's a general process that can be applied to any song. So the sweet spot for me, the range where I like it in this song, is starting at -6 and ending at -4. And I like different things about each notch. So the -6, the -5, the -4. The -6 sounds the cleanest to me. And I think, in fact, that it would probably sound the biggest and the best on a PA. It's also hella loud. Like -6 is loud. It's louder than Skrillex is doing a lot of his masters these days. Drum and bass tends to be louder than other genres in electronic music. Obviously dubstep and funk, those are super loud genres as well, but much louder than, say, house or typical EDM songs, progressive music, trance, techno. Usually not that loud, right? We're talking about bass music, drum and bass. Some of it's like -4, -3. I know it goes louder. When I listen to the -5 version compared to the -6, I hear this uptick in distortion, but it's kind of pleasing distortion. I hear especially in the side channel of the mix, especially on the bass, okay? The big dung, 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 dung. The bass that sounds like Donkey Kong is just like banging on a hang drum or something. That part. I hear that come up in a pleasing way in the mix that isn't quite there in the -6. It just gets a little bit more aggressive, but aggressive in a good way, not aggressive in a harsh, fatiguing way. And the drums to me still sound like they have impact. Let's just listen to those two versions of the master, and I want you to see if you can hear what I'm hearing.
I'm not gonna flip around like a gyro. People love me in every single time zone. I'm a mix of being woke and the cycle goes 0 to 100 on nitro. I'm the best of the best, no typo. Homie, I can out-rap you on a blindfold. Legendary albino, call me whatever you want, get a down tone.
Okay, do you hear that? Do you hear how the bass, especially the side channel of the bass, because there's stereo harmonics in there, comes up a little bit, just gets a bit more contained, but to me that sounds pretty good. Now, what happens when we go to the -4 version? Okay, I want you to listen for this. This is what I'm hearing. It gets more distorted, but to me, now we're getting into bad trade-offs. It gets more aggressive, more distorted, but it gets more distorted to me now distortion's on everything. I'm hearing especially distortion on the lead vocal. Now the lead vocal is aggressive, it's saturated, it's buzzy, it's already super aggressive. And then I hear the limiter starting to really smash out the vocal, and the vocal no longer sounds good to me. So now let's listen to the -4, -5, -6 in succession. And I want you to listen to the trade-off between those things. -6 to me sounds like fairly clean, like definitely pretty clean, sounds good on a big PA, but the bass is just lacking a little bit of aggression for me. The -5, that lift comes up in the bass that I like. We get a bit more distortion. To me, it sounds acceptable. And then when we go to -4, to me, that crosses the threshold into unacceptable distortion, and it begins to really compromise the lead vocal. And for what? I don't feel like I'm gaining anything there. Let's have a listen to those three back to back.
Flip around like a gyro. People love me in every single time zone. I'm a mix of being woke and the cycle goes 0 to 100 on nitro. I'm the best of the best, no typo. Homie, I can out-rap you on a blindfold. Legendary albino, call me whatever you want, get a down tone. One thing that I guarantee, ain't nobody going ham like me. I'm a mix of a man and beat. The way I stomp on a random beat. I got the drip and I plant the seed. Put in work and expand my reach. I get my cool like antifreeze. Flip around like a gyro. People love me in every single time zone. I'm a mix of being woke and the cycle goes 0 to...
Okay. So to me, that's the sweet spot for this master. It's -6, -5. I think because it's a drum and bass song, I would probably go with the -5. Now, let's go back and listen to these with some of those special isolating tools I was talking to you about earlier. So I was saying that I listened to just the side channel, and then I listened to a low-pass version of the mix to check for kind of low-end cohesion, low-end groove, low-end dynamics. The way I'm going to do that is I use a free plugin from Voxengo called MSED. It's a mid-side isolator and encoder device, and you can just click it on and solo the side channel, and we can go through each one of these and listen to what the side channel is doing at these different levels of loudness and limiting. And in particular, listen for when you start to hear a lot of distortion on the side channel, because that's, like I said earlier, where the reverbs are, and it's where your sense of space and 3D depth in the mix comes from. So let's first listen to the side channel only, and we'll go through. Okay, did you hear what I was talking about there? As soon as we go from the -6 version to the -5 version, we start to hear a little uptick in distortion. It's not horrible, it's not crunchy, but we can hear that little uptick in side channel distortion. And that maybe is part of why I'm liking what that does to the bass. But as soon as we hit the -4 version, we get crunch. Okay, let's have a listen to just -6, -5, -4. Yeah, to me, that's just unacceptable in the side channel, and it really compromises the mix at that point. Okay, now let's listen with the low pass filter engaged, and let's listen just to the bottom end. Okay, again, what are you hearing there? To me, when I put the low pass filter on, I feel like the low end, the general punch and groove of the low end is compromised a bit when we move from -6 to -5. I feel like it sounds bigger, fuller, more impactful, more energetic in the -6 version. And I feel like, yeah, we tick to -5. It feels like we make a bit of a sacrifice there, but then we're gaining the other things that I was talking about. So it's always a game of trade-offs. The -4 version, to me, starts to sound sausagey, samey. It loses the groove in the low end. It just sounds like this stream of sub-bass garbage. Let's have a listen very carefully now between -6, -5, -4. Yeah. It's a pretty big difference, actually, between -6, -5. -4, I just throw it out at this point. It loses me in the bottom end. And the bottom end is what you feel when you're on a dance floor. This is dance music, right? This is tear out dance music. There's a reason why the 2024 Grammy winner that Skrillex put out with Flowdown and Fred Again was mastered in the drop to a little quieter than -6. If you listen to the bottom end of that track, it has mad groove. It sounds amazing. You don't think if he could go louder for a good reason, he wouldn't have? He was getting mastered by, I think, the best mastering engineer for EDM in the world, Luca Pretelesi from Studio DMI. Don't you think they would have gone louder if there was a benefit to it? They would have. He's going for general fidelity of the music. And that's really the key point I want you guys all to understand here, is that when you even all this stuff out and you're not fooling your ears with a loudness jump, then it really comes down to your engineering decisions and are they serving the music, and going for the things that in this game of trade-offs that we have result in the best balance of those things. And I'm not saying this because I want your music to be any less tear out, energetic, aggressive. In fact, I think that by pushing things too hard beyond the sweet spot, you actually make the song sound less aggressive. You make it sound smaller. You make it sound more samey, more fatiguing, and you lose a lot of the punch and the aggressiveness that can be so magical and so appealing about electronic music. Well, thank you for joining me for this foray into loudness. It's been a fun one. I love doing this type of A, B, C, D comparison. I do this all the time for myself. This is my process, and I really wanted to share it with you guys. So I hope you got a lot out of this one. If you liked this, please give the video a thumbs up. Again, drop me some comments down below. Let me know what you thought about this and which version or versions you preferred and why. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace.